Hi, I'm Jason from Rangeland RV, and today I'd like to take you on a walkthrough on the Grey Wolf travel trailer. This is the 26 DBH. The idea behind this video is a reminder and a refresher for the walkthrough orientation that you may have already had with us. We're using a Grey Wolf, but this can apply to many different types of trailers because we're going to talk about getting to your campsite, setting up your trailer, and then we're going to talk about all the features and functions on this trailer and how to operate them, and I hope that you find this very helpful. So what I like to do when I'm doing a walkthrough with our clients, on a new client on their trailer, is I like to start at the front of the trailer and just start here and move our way back through setup and getting the trailer powered and ready to go. So now that you've arrived at your campsite, backed into your spot and unhooked from your hitch, get your truck out of the way, and the first thing that I like to do is come over and turn on the propane. Propane in this trailer is going to power a number of different functions. It's going to provide fuel for your furnace, for your stove and oven, and for the refrigerator, as well as your hot water heater. There's also a quick connect that you can plug an external device like a barbecue or a propane fire pit that's located under the trailer, and that will propane will also fuel that. So we have two different ways that we can turn on our bottles. One, we have a quick access panel on top of the bottle where we could just reach in and turn on our bottles to get the propane flowing, but I'm going to take this off and show you the system here. So when we remove our bottle cover, the first thing I do is we turn on both of our propane tanks. Turn them on all the way. So what we have here is what we call a dual crossover regulator. So this regulator regulates the flow of propane to the components in the trailer. But when they call it a dual automatic crossover, it means that we have an arrow pointing to this bottle. When we have propane in it, you're going to see the float in the front of the trailer. It's going to turn green to indicate that your bottles are full. As this bottle drains, what's going to happen is you're going to see that green turn to red, indicating that this bottle is empty. But instead of it shutting down all of your components, it's going to automatically cross over and start drawing out of the second bottle. You'll see there's also an arrow that we can manipulate. So it was turned to this bottle. Now I've turned it over here. The idea is that if you don't want to run out of propane and you want to have continuous supply of propane, now when I switch my arrow over here, we can undo this bottle, take it off, and take it down to get it filled or exchanged. The next item that powers your trailer, a very important item, is your battery system. So there are many features and functions on this trailer that are 12-volt powered. Some of those things include your lighting, your stereo system, your awning, your slide-out motor, and the fans in the furnace and things like that. So it's important that we have a full battery charge when we get out to our campsite, especially if we're not going to be at a service site where we're able to plug in. Another thing to consider is sometimes we'll run two 6-volt batteries in series to create 12 volts to extend your battery life if you're going to be camping in those dry camping scenarios or boondocking style scenarios. So we ensure that our battery is charged. I don't have a battery on this trailer, but it will be located under the lid of a battery box on the trailer. And one thing that I also find important is that when you're not using your trailer, to disconnect those battery cables, or if there's a battery cutoff or shut off switch on your trailer, always make sure you're turning that off when you're not using the trailer. There's certain components in this trailer that will have a continuous parasitic draw off that battery, but by removing those cables, you'll stop that battery from being discharged when you're not using the trailer. So now that we've ensured that we have battery power, what I'd like to do is I'd like to walk around to the other side of the trailer, show you how to plug in the trailer and how to fill the trailer with water. So if you're at a fully serviced site and you have power at your site, electrical power at your site, I want to show you how you plug in your trailer. So the trailer that you purchased is going to come with a 25-foot power cable. You'll see in the case of this one, sometimes it'll be stuffed inside the trailer, hidden behind a little door. In the case of most of our products here, it's what we call a detachable short cord. So we're just going to open this flap here. This is a 30 amp cable, and we'll just plug it into the trailer here. It has a bit of a twist lock style system. We'll just twist it a bit, and then there's a cuff on there that threads on, and what that's going to do is just ensure that if somebody were to trip on the cable or something, it's not going to pull out the side of the trailer. You'll see these cords that will come in either 30 or 50 amps, and depending on what you're camped at, if you're at a 30 amp site, no problem, but if you do need to go down to 15 amps, which is a regular household plug-in, we're going to supply you as well with what we call a 15 amp park adapter. You'll just plug that onto the other end of the cord and then plug it into the outlet that you're needing to use for power. So now that we have the trailer powered, so we have battery, we have our propane on, and we're plugged in. Now I want to talk to you a little bit about the water systems in this trailer. So there's two different ways that we can provide water to the trailer. One is that this trailer and all trailers have a freshwater reservoir or a freshwater tank. There's actually 3 tanks underneath this trailer, suspended underneath the frame. There's a freshwater reservoir, which you'll use for storage of water when you're camping away from a regular supply of water. There's a gray water catch or holding tank that's going to catch any of the water that drains through your sink, or your shower pan, or your bathroom sink, all your soapy style water. And then there's a black water septic tank, which is just going to catch everything from your toilet. So starting with your freshwater system, this is what we call a water pressure regulator. We provided you with this when you picked up your trailer. This controls the PSI of the water supply between 40 and 50 PSI, and it's going to ensure that there's not too much pressure going into lines or seals or fittings to ensure that you don't damage anything in your trailer. So when we come over here, you're going to see city water connection. We'll just open this flap, and this regulator will screw in place. And then we'll connect a freshwater hose. And then the other end will connect to your water supply. Now, if we're not at a service site with water or city water on site, we want to make sure that we fill our freshwater holding tank before we arrive at our destination. A lot of people will try and look for, a lot of campsites, even though your site might not be serviced, will have potable water supplied on site, and it's maybe a little bit nicer to arrive and fill up there versus carrying a full load of water while you're traveling with your trailer. Save a little weight, save a little fuel economy. So in the case of that, now when we're into our city water like we are here, it's going to pressure feed all of your water systems, so you're not going to need to use the internal water pump in the trailer. However, this trailer does have a 12-volt water pump. What the water pump is there for is for when you're using your freshwater reservoir, you'll turn on your pump, and when you turn on a tap and pressure and activate that pump, it's going to draw water out of that reservoir. To fill up your freshwater tank, when you're not on city water, we'll just remove this cap, and this cord simply will just sit inside here. You'll turn on your water and stand back and wait. You'll know when the trailer's full because there's a backfill spout on this, and you'll start to see water spit out. There's also a tank monitoring system that's going to indicate the levels of your tanks, so if you're not quite sure, you can go inside and you can check on your control panel to see the level that your tank's at. It's also a good way for you to gauge where you're at in your water supply if you're reliant on your freshwater reservoir for your weekend of camping. So something to keep an eye on to make sure you're not going to run out of water before you're finished with your camping trip. Okay, so we spoke about your water holding tanks and plumbing systems. I'd like to talk to you about when you're getting ready to leave your campsite, how we're going to evacuate or drain those tanks. So you're going to see when we look down here, we have two pull handles. These are called gate valves. The idea of a gate valve is it's sealed when your handles are in, and it will open and close over the evacuation pipe. So when we see our large handle, and these are actually color coded, but when we see the large gate valve, this is your black water tank or your septic tank. When we see our gray one, this is our gray water tank for our soapy water, like I said, from your shower, your bathroom sink, or your kitchen sink. So what we do first when we get ready, we'll open this cap here. So we get up to our dump station at the campsite. We'll open this cap. And then this is one style of sewer hose. There's a number of different ones available. You'll see the end is the same. And we're going to take this and we're going to lock it into place, okay? You're going to want to make sure that this is very secured because we don't want anything leaking or spraying out of here. Now my advice to you, first of all, is, then we'll start with it closed, is to start with your black gate valve and pull it open. First of all, you'll put this all the way down into the septic tank, pull that open and let it drain. You'll hear it when it's finished draining. And then I would come over and I would pull our gray water gate valve. The idea of this is that that soapy water is going to help clean debris out of your water hose. Now there's one other feature on this trailer. On this particular trailer, it's located on the opposite side of the trailer. It's called a black tank flush. The idea of this is your septic tank, built on the top of the tank, is a spray nozzle. The spray nozzle is going to help to wash your tank from the inside out so no latent debris is left in that tank. So we'll take a regular water hose, we'll hook it into that black tank flush inlet, turn it on, but again, we're going to want to make sure that we leave your black water gate valve open while we're doing this. If you happen to not have this valve open and you maybe got distracted or pulled away from the job at hand here, what it's going to do, it's going to backfill that black water tank, and then all of that waste and debris is going to want to go somewhere. So please ensure that when using a black tank flush on a trailer, you stay by the trailer, you stay attentive, and you leave your black water gate valve open. All right, your travel trailer is also equipped with a hot water heater. In our industry, there's a couple of different styles of hot water heaters. Most of the Forest River trailers that we sell, they provide you with the Suburban 6-gallon gas and electric hot water heater. What that means is that you can operate this hot water heater and heat your water by either using just electricity or propane. So depending on where you're camping, if you're at a service site, I'd recommend that you use the electric setting on it so you don't have to use any of your propane, which you're paying for outside of your campsite fees. So I'll show you quickly. So your hot water heaters behind this door. This is an area also that can get hot, so if you have children, make sure you warn them that this area is hot. And actually the outside door does indicate to you that it can get hot out here. So we'll just open this twist tab and fold your door down to open it up. Now, a couple of things. What we see here is what we call an anode rod, or you'll hear the term sacrificial anode rod. The Suburban hot water heater versus the Atwood hot water heater is lined in enamel, and so what the anode rod does is it pulls impurities out of your water system that otherwise might harm the inner lining of your tank or leach into your water supply. It's also going to keep your lines free and clear of calcium buildups and things like that. So the sacrificial anode rod is really good. You'll see it right now in perfect pristine condition, but if you look down the middle, there's a little core. This anode rod, after your season of camping, when you're going to use it, it also doubles as the drain plug for the coach, for your hot water heater. You'll see it pitted. It's just telling you that it's doing its job. You can run it almost all the way down to the center core before you need to go out and replace this item, but it does come new with your coach today. So this hot water heater also has, when I spoke of the two different functions, if we're going to run it off electric, there is a small button underneath this thermal coupler which says on and off. When it's in its off position, it's set up to run off propane. When it's in its on position, it's using a heating element, an electric heating element, to heat your water. So ensure that if you're plugged in and you want to use electricity to heat your hot water, that the setting is on. It's the small tab located in the lower left-hand corner of the hot water heater. You'll see also two buttons that say push to reset. The idea with the Suburban hot water heater is it has a breaker system in it that if perhaps you were running your hot water heater dry, or if something was overheating, the resets will pop outwards and shut the hot water heater down. It's a safety feature. To reset it, all you're going to do is push those buttons back in after that hot water heater has cooled back down. Make sure that you have water in it. One final thing, before you remove this plug, if you're going to be draining your hot water heater by yourself, there's a pressure release valve that all you'll do is lift on it, and it's going to take that pressure that's built up in and bleed it off a little bit, so that when you remove your anode rod or your drain plug, it's not going to have pressure behind it as you're removing it. I'd like to quickly talk to you about the tongue jack on the trailer. On the Grey Wolf here, we have a power tongue jack. On other trailers, you might find a manual jack. It's just a hand crank jack. They both do the same thing. They both lift the trailer up and down, but they're also used to level the trailer from front to back. So that's an important thing that we're going to talk a little bit about. So simply with your power tongue jack, you have a down or you have an up button. It's as easy as that. And we also have a little light if you needed some illumination at night. One thing that customers always ask me, on some of these components, can you manually override it? So the answer is yes, you can. So in the case of this jack, there's a rubber tab on the top here, or a plug. We'll just pull it open. Located in your passenger storage of the trailer, next to your your hand crank for your jacks, is also this smaller style hand crank. And all you'll do is you'll just put it in place here, and now we can manually lift and lower the trailer. So in the event if there is failure in the component, or if you ran out of power perhaps, this would be something that you would use to get yourself out of a sticky situation. This jack is also 12-volt powered, so keep that in mind. You don't need to be plugged in to be able to utilize this jack. Let's go around to the side of the trailer and talk a little bit about how we would level the trailer from side to side, and how we use our stabilizer jacks to ensure that your trailer is nice and stable. All right, so let's talk about leveling the trailer a bit more. So most of the campsites that you go to are going to provide you with a nice level parking pad, but many of our clients and many people like to camp in off the beaten path kind of areas, dry camping, boondocking. You might not always be in an area where your ground is completely level. So we want to ensure that we level our trailer front to back. Sometimes what people will use is a level set on their steps to ensure that the trailer is nice and level. And now there's some great level apps for your smartphone as well, so you can just get that app, set it down on the steps, and ensure that your trailer's nice and level. And it's mostly for the sake of comfort as well. In the past, some components needed to be leveled to be able to run and function properly. Today, components work a little bit different, and you don't have to be perfectly level, but it's certainly more comfortable when you are. So power tongue jack will level the trailer front to back. If we're going to level side to side, the one thing that I really want to stress upon you is we don't use the scissor style or stabilizer style jack to level your trailer. These are only intended to stabilize the trailer. If we need to level your trailer side to side, what we do is we run a block underneath the tires. So you'll set up your blocks and you'll pull your trailer forward onto those blocks and adjust it in that direction like that. There's stackable style high density plastic blocks that are available at RV dealerships, or I like the idea of just carrying some 2x6 pieces of wood, because those can come in very handy as well. So it's really up to you what you want to use. So we spoke about not using your stabilizer jacks to level the trailer. The idea of this is all we want to do is we want to get them to the ground on all four corners, and then we want to give it maybe another turn and a half to make sure that they're nice and snug down against the ground, and it's going to take that kind of movement out of your trailer. There's two different ways to do that. So in the case of this trailer, you've been provided with this hand crank system. All you'll do in the case of this is just put it onto the end of this nut here, and we'll bring it down to the ground like this, right? And again, when you get down to the ground, we don't want to put too much pressure on it. You can damage the jack by trying to lift the weight of the trailer onto it. They're not intended for that. What our clients, many of our clients like to also do is use a power drill for this. In the case of this one, they just cut the end off their crank handle and inserted it in here. Another tip that I'd like to share with you is to carry some pieces of 2x6. The idea behind this is it gives you a little bit more contact with the ground, so if you're on softer ground, your trailer's not going to sink into it. But it also reduces the travel of the tongue jack, and when that jack's fully extended, you're not going to get the same kind of stability. So if we use a block or two underneath our jacks, we have our jacks set up so they're at their most stable state. So I'll just take this, I'll put it underneath the jack, and then I'll take our drill here, and we'll just bring it down to the ground, and just a little bit of weight on it. and we're nice and stable. So that's how we level and stabilize our travel trailer. Okay, let's continue to set up your travel trailer. So this is what we call a folding large entry assist handle. We'll lift it up and turn it out, and then it'll sink back into place here. This trailer, you may have under-mounted sinks or steps where you'll just pull the steps out. In the case of many of our products, we have this new style of step which folds up into the door frame of the trailer. And so we'll just pull this lock here and we'll bring it down, and your steps are set up. Now, in the case of this trailer, we can also take this, and if you need to adjust the legs because maybe you're on uneven ground, we'll just pull this pin out, adjust the legs where you want them to be adjusted to, and put the pin back in like that. The reason that I would do that is to ensure that this flange sits flat against your door frame, so when you're closing your door, it's not going to catch or bind or scrape across the top of the steps. It'll also make it nice and stable as you're walking up and down the steps. Okay. So the Grey Wolf 26 dBH also comes with an outside refrigerator. So this door will just come open. We have a clip here to clip it up, and then we can just slide out your stove. Has another outside shower here, so you can see with hot and cold water, an ice maker, and a refrigerator. One thing that I really want to point out about these two components on the trailer is they're 110 powered only. So unless you have some sort of an inverter system or solar charging system with an inverter, you're not going to be able to utilize these two things, or a generator I should say, unless you're plugged into power or plugged into a generator. This refrigerator on the exterior of the trailer and the ice maker on the exterior of this trailer are 110 powered only. Another safety feature that I'd like to share with you is you'll see that we have an exhaust vent here. This is the exhaust vent for your furnace. So again, if you have small children around, this area does get hot. So I always make sure to tell my daughter, hey, these areas are hot, so stay away from them. We have outside speakers here. And then you'll see here that we also have a cable inlet here. The idea of this is there's a bracket here for an outside TV if you have that on your trailer. You can just put your TV on, plug it, the coaxial cable into here, or there's also an HDMI cable, and then if you're at a campsite that has cable service, on the opposite side of the trailer, you can hook the cable in. There's also a 110 outlet here as well, so if you needed to plug in that TV. What we're looking at here is the exterior or fridge vent. So to open this vent, there's two tabs. I just use a dime or a screwdriver. We'll open these two tabs. You'll see this black thing sticking out is just a moisture release. Now we'll just take it, we'll pop the vent off like this, and it'll reveal the inside of or the back side of your fridge. So the idea with this, and I share this with customers lots, this is something that you really never need to access for any reason whatsoever. The one thing that I like to point out is make sure that if you do open this up, make sure you secure these tabs correctly, because this is one of these items that we tend to sell a lot of in our parts department, because when they're not secured correctly, when you're driving down the highway, they tend to blow off into the ditch somewhere. So we'll just put it back in. Okay, so we spoke about your water holding tanks and plumbing systems. I'd like to talk to you about when you're getting ready to leave your campsite, how we're going to evacuate or drain those tanks. So you're going to see when we look down here, we have two pull handles. These are called gate valves. The idea of a gate valve is it's sealed when your handles are in, and it will open and close over the evacuation pipe. So when we see our large handle, and these are actually color coded, but when we see the large gate valve, this is your black water tank or your septic tank. When we see our gray one, this is our gray water tank for our soapy water, like I said, from your shower, your bathroom sink, or your kitchen sink. So what we do first when we get ready, we'll open this cap here. So we get up to our dump station at the campsite. We'll open this cap. And then this is one style of sewer hose. There's a number of different ones available. You'll see the end is the same. And we're going to take this and we're going to lock it into place, okay? You're going to want to make sure that this is very secured because we don't want anything leaking or spraying out of here. Now my advice to you first of all is, then we'll start with it closed, is to start with your black gate valve and pull it open. First of all, you'll put this all the way down into the septic tank, pull that open and let it drain. You'll hear it when it's finished draining. And then I would come over and I would pull our gray water gate valve. The idea of this is that that soapy water is going to help clean debris out of your water hose. Now there's one other feature on this trailer. On this particular trailer, it's located on the opposite side of the trailer. It's called a black tank flush. The idea of this is your septic tank, built on the top of the tank, is a spray nozzle. The spray nozzle is going to help to wash your tank from the inside out so no latent debris is left in that tank. So we'll take a regular water hose, we'll hook it into that black tank flush inlet, turn it on, but again, we're going to want to make sure that we leave your black water gate valve open while we're doing this. If you happen to not have this valve open and you maybe got distracted or pulled away from the job at hand here, what it's going to do, it's going to backfill that black water tank, and then all of that waste and debris is going to want to go somewhere. So please ensure that when using a black tank flush on a trailer, you stay by the trailer, you stay attentive, and you leave your black water gate valve open. So when you're finished, when you know your tanks are drained, we're going to close our gate valves and we're going to remove your hose. Now on this particular trailer, the rear bumper is sewer hose storage bumper as well. So you'll see when you have the box bumper on the back, they're designed to fit, or sewer hoses are designed to fit inside them. So all I would do here is I'll just remove the plug from the bumper and we'll just insert our hose, and so your hose can store inside the bumper and away from any other items, any of your other camping items. So let's take some time to show you the power awning on this trailer. So this is the Solera Easy Pitch power awning. The control for it's located just inside the door here, and you'll see a panel that says extend and retract. So let's just extend the awning. Now again, this is one of those 12-volt features on your trailer as well, so you don't need to be plugged in to use your awning. And so we run it out all the way, and you'll see there's a flap that will hang down, and it kind of guides you to the distance that you should be extended to. So here we're set up. Now, some things to consider. I'll give you a little bit of advice about your awning. Some things to strongly consider is never take your awning out if it's windy. It's like a big sail, and severe damage can occur to both the awning and the trailer if a large gust of wind comes up. Also, if you're not going to be at your trailer, if you're going to be leaving for the day or even for 5 minutes, make sure you bring the awning back in. I would recommend also bringing it in overnight, because you never know what's going to happen overnight. So the button on the inside will have a retract setting. You just press that and bring the awning back in. If it's raining outside, one thing that we strongly urge you to do is to put the awning on a tilt. If water pools in the middle of this awning, it will bend the bar and damage the fabric, and that's one of those items that your insurance may cover it, but your extended or warranty or any warranty won't cover it. So to bring this awning on a pitch, we just come over here and pull down this handle. You could do that on the other side as well. Now water will run off the side of the awning. Put a bucket underneath it unless you want that water running back into your campsite. And then just one other piece of advice, I would always make sure that when you're opening your awning, there's nothing obstructing it. On certain floor plans like this, for example, if the door was open completely all the way, the awning would catch on it when it's coming out. But also, if the door is open too much when we're bringing it back in, you could potentially damage something. So I'm just going to go back in and close the awning. There's also a light switch. It's on a bank of 2 switches, which are going to control your awning lights here. Okay, so that does it for the exterior features on the trailer. Let's go in and show you some of the components inside. Okay, so right inside the doorway here we have a number of the controls that we're going to go through. First of all, once we get inside our trailer, we want to open any slide outs that we have. In the case of this trailer, there's one slide out. Now, before you open that slide, I want you to get out and walk around the trailer. Make sure that there's nothing that you can't see through the window obstructing the slide out. If your slide runs into something, the motors are very powerful, and either whatever it's hitting outside is going to break, or something with the slide out's going to break. So make sure your windows blinds get open so you can see what's going on out there, and inspect the exterior before you open it up. It's also nice to have somebody out there just keeping an eye on things, especially if you're in a tighter spot. So to open our slide, we simply press the out button, and you're going to hear the slide activate. This slide also works off 12 volts. So something to also be mindful of is if you're in a situation where you know your battery is going to die, probably best to get your slide out in before that happens, or in the event you do completely lose battery life, you can always plug into the back of your vehicle, providing you have a charge line, and it'll provide power to that slide out. So you heard the slide stops, you just let it go out all the way, it will stop itself. Take your finger off the button. So now that we're in this area, we'll talk about some other features. So as I spoke of, there's your awning control, there's some lighting. This is the lighting for the exterior up here, the lighting for the interior down here. Now this is what we call your monitor panel, and there's a few really important things on here. So first of all, we went through the hot water heater and how it works, but we didn't talk about how to light it. It's all on an electric spark or electric igniter. So we just simply flip the heater switch, which indicates the hot water heater, and then if you're on propane, you're going to hear it start to tick, which is the spark going, and then it will ignite and you'll hear that start. Don't run it while it's dry. And then we have our internal water pump. So we talked about when we fill our freshwater reservoir that we need a pump to draw the water out of that. You'll do that by flipping this on. This can remain on for the entire camping trip, and same with the hot water heater. It has a thermostat in there, so it won't continue to run. It will heat the water up to its optimal temperature, and then it will shut itself back off. Now, if you want to keep an eye on, see what's happening in terms of your tank levels, just to know that you have enough water to get you through your weekend, or that you're not getting to those critical limits in your gray or black water tank, then we just have here where it says fresh water, and it's going to indicate on this trailer, because it's in the showroom, that it's empty. Your black water is empty and your gray water is empty. It'll show you empty, 1/3, 2/3, or full. There's also a battery indicator here that's going to show you that you're charged or that you're getting low. Now keep in mind, when you're plugged in, it's always going to show that it's fully charged. So to get an accurate reading on really what's happening with your battery, unplug the trailer, hit your battery, and you'll see the actual level that it's at, or you'll see it in 25% increments. That's it for the control panel. Let's turn around and show you some of the features in the kitchen on the trailer. Okay, so now that we're in the kitchen, you'll see that a lot of the kitchen appliances are very much like your household, in particular the microwave. So your microwave functions the same way as your household microwave does. The one thing that you want to keep in mind is it will only work off of 110 power as well. So unless you're plugged in, and if you're just running off your battery, you'll be unable to use your microwave. When we're talking about our stove, we'll open our glass stove cover like this, and then you have your 3 burners. You'll see that there's 3 different temperatures knobs that are going to indicate which burner you're on. So all we'll do is we just select the lighter stage on the burner that you're looking, and then you'll ignite it by turning this sparker. You'll see a little spark pops out, and once gas is flowing through there, it'll light that burner, and then to shut it off, you'll turn it back off again. And your oven is here, and the same thing. You'll turn on your oven, and you'll hit your igniter to light your oven and let it get up to temperature. So quite simply, there's also a light on this oven. It's just located to the right. Always make sure that you're traveling with the tempered glass stove cover down. If you hit a big bump and it falls down hard, it could possibly break this. Also, I've actually seen where somebody ignites the stove with this down, and it doesn't take very long for the heat to destroy that as well. So we have our hood fan, which vents anything to the outside of the trailer. So your fan there, just like at home, and there's a light under there as well. Let's talk about your refrigerator. So you're going to see some different refrigerators in our industry. This is your gas electric fridge, or some refer to it as a gas absorption fridge. This is the Dometic fridge. fridge, you'll simply turn it on. There's an on-off button, and then you're going to see two different settings. One's going to say auto, or one's going to say gas, and one's going to say auto. The idea is this. An automatic setting will automatically switch back over to gas if for some reason your power source is interrupted. This refrigerator runs on 110 or on propane, so most of our customers are just going to set the fridge by turning it on and selecting the auto selector on it, and so it'll naturally first select 110 power, but again, if that power source is interrupted, it'll automatically switch over to gas. The temperature control setting in this refrigerator is what we call a thermostat. It's just simply a little slide that goes up and down. If you want to make your fridge colder, move it up. If you want to make it a little bit less cold, move it down. But these fridges tend to be quite temperature set and controlled from the factory. There's not a lot of adjustment in temperature in these refrigerators. So I'd like to quickly talk about some of the safety features and functions in this trailer. There's a fire extinguisher just down by the front door. There's your smoke detector up here. Sometimes you may hear it beep. It's beeping to indicate that the battery needs to be recharged. And then we have down beside the bunk, or at the bottom of the bunk, we have your propane detector. Now, a couple of things about your propane detector. Because propane can be dangerous, it's hardwired directly to the front battery on this trailer, to your 12-volt battery systems. The idea is this: when your battery in the front of the trailer gets down to about a 15% charge, it's going to start to alert you that your battery is dying, and when it's dead, it will no longer be able to function and protect you and your family. So make sure that you keep your battery on your trailer charged, or you're going to hear a beeping, and it's an intermittent beeping that happens, call it every 30 seconds, and it usually happens right in the middle of the night. So keep your battery charged. Now, if you do hear your propane detector do more than just an intermittent beep, but make a sound like this, if you hear that and it continues to go, then it's indicating to you that it's smelling propane. So my recommendation, what we strongly urge you to do, is get out of the trailer, turn the propane bottles off, open windows and doors to air out any latent propane that might be in the unit, and then you'll reset that by just holding your finger down on the only button on it. Turn your propane back on, and if it persists, do not use your propane. Now, it's also very sensitive. So, for example, if this burner was left on maybe a little too long and not ignited, that propane can drift down into that area and set that alarm off, because again, they trigger quite quickly. They're quite sensitive. So those are your safety features on the trailer. I'm going to take you and show you a couple of things in the bathroom, talk about a few of those items. Okay, just a few things in the bathroom. First of all, above me is what we call your Fantastic Fan or Max Air fan. It's a high performance 12-volt fan. For that fan to function, the lid needs to be open. So you'll just turn the knob to lift the lid, and then you'll have a setting 1 through 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, depending on the speed that you want it to be. This fan is an exhaust fan, so it'll draw air through the trailer and out. You have a bathtub, it works, and your shower works just like the one at home, so there's nothing to really speak of there. But I do want to speak to about the toilet. So the septic tank that I spoke of in this trailer is located directly below the toilet. What we strongly recommend is some sort of a toilet chemical. This toilet chemical is an enzyme that helps to break down waste and just makes things run smoother, you might say, right? So what we do to get your cycle of toilet chemical started is I'll just use the foot flush. I'll open this up, and these will come in packets. They're kind of like dishwasher tablets or Tide Pods. You'll just drop one down into the toilet, run a little bit of water into it. So you'll hold your foot down just gently on this. It'll kick on the water, kick it all the way open to drain it into the the basin, and it will activate this enzyme. Every time you empty your black water tank, it's time to put another tank conditioner in there. So make sure you use it on a cycle. It has a lot of real benefits to you. We also strongly recommend RV toilet paper only. You're going to have to leave the Charmin Velvet at home for your camping trips. So RV toilet paper breaks down much easier and keeps your plumbing systems running smooth. We can talk briefly about the air conditioning systems on your trailer as well. So air conditioners are a big power draw. So again, you'll need to be plugged in to use your air conditioner, but more importantly, you actually need to be plugged into 30 amp service, which is what you'll find at campsites, because an air conditioner on a high setting, when you turn it on, will kick a regular 15 amp breaker off. And if you don't know what that is, it's, you know, whenever you're plugging into just a regular household style plug, that's typically on a 15 amp breaker, and your air conditioning unit will pop that breaker. So you need to be at 30 amps, or you need to have a generator, and typically, in general speaking, a 3,000 watt generator is required to run your air conditioning unit. Couple more features I'd like to show at the front of the trailer, and we'll talk about that as well. Okay, so at the front of the trailer, in this particular trailer, we have a fireplace. This is a 5,000 BTU fireplace. It really does help heat your trailer. It's quite easy to use. The settings are all right on the front, and we'll just turn it on, and it'll immediately start blowing heat. Now, there's also a timer that you can set, so it can shut off if you just wanted it to kick on and didn't have to get back up to shut it back off. But you can also control the temperature on this, and you can also shut it right off. So if it's just a nice night, you guys are hanging out, you want some ambient light, you can do that by shutting the temperature completely off, and then we'll turn this off. A couple of things to be aware of on this fireplace. For one, it's cold to the touch, so if there's a child, you don't have to worry about them burning themselves, even though it does produce quite a bit of heat. But another thing too is when temperatures drop to a certain temperature below zero, it's not going to actually come on until there's enough heat in the coach to cool this glass. So it knows that if I start to kick out a bunch of heat towards this really cold piece of glass on the front of the fireplace, it'll crack. So don't be alarmed if you're in cold weather, just getting set up with your trailer and your fireplace isn't turning on. It's most likely because the trailer needs to warm up from your furnace a bit first. Speaking of your furnace too, and we'll actually let's talk about your stereo. Let's go back into your furnace. So your stereo systems here, this is the Furion stereo, has an HDMI, a USB in the front, and it also is Bluetooth capable. You just turn it on by pressing the center button, and then if you wanted to pair your phone to it, pair devices, hit your Bluetooth, or it'll say no link it to your phone. It'll ask you for a password. The password I always put in is 0000, and it kicks right on for you. I'm just gonna follow me around here really quick, and I'll show you one more feature. Okay. This trailer has a digital thermostat. Typically in your newer trailers, you're going to see a thermostat that looks a lot like this. This thermostat controls both the furnace in the trailer as well as the air conditioning unit in the trailer, and it will just also control the fan in the air conditioner without actually turning on the air conditioner. So to do that, all we're going to do is hit the mode button, and then you'll just start to cycle through. If I press it once here, we go to fan on high. That should kick on for us right away here. There it goes. If I go to the next setting, it goes to cool. So I just press the button one more time. It goes to cool. It's got a little snowflake to indicate that it's cool. Then you can adjust your temperature up and down and make it colder or warmer. And then finally, if I press it one more time, you'll see it actually indicates that your furnace is on. And then you can control your furnace with your temperature controls up and down your thermostat, okay? So also when you've shut that off completely, you're gonna hear your fans are gonna continue to cycle. It's kind of like a cool down mode. So you'll hear the AC fan just went off. Even though I've shut the furnace off, the furnace fan will cycle for a little bit as well. Couple of things to think about, I always typically what we do if you're experiencing an issue with your trailer, I like to look for the simplest things. First of all, if your furnace isn't working or your hot water heater isn't working or your refrigerator isn't, first thing that I personally would check is to see that you have propane in your tanks. The second thing that I would also check is just down below the fridge on this trailer is what we call its converter. Its converter also houses all of the fuses and breakers for this trailer. So in this particular style of converter, there's a bank of 15 amp fuses and some 40 amp fuses. I also urge you to carry a few spare fuses just in case. If one of them blow and that fuse is burnt out, there's a red LED light next to each individual fuse that's going to light up to indicate which fuse you're having an issue with. Also, if there's a challenge with power or whatnot, I would come here and check your breakers. They're just like your regular household breakers. So those are just some things that I've found can answer a lot of questions and solve a lot of problems by looking for the easiest solutions, typically found in your breaker box or converter, as we like to call it, or things like your propane level or your battery levels, or perhaps your trailer's not plugged in correctly. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video, and I hope you found it informative.